Hello everyone. Today in this module we are going to talk about two important physiological stresses, namely desiccation and salinity stress, which are perceived by the plants. At physiological level, these two stresses, that is desiccation and salinity, cause similar damage to the plants, as desiccation is also associated with salt stress. There are various physiological processes and molecular mechanisms by which the plants protect themselves against these physiological stresses. In this module, today we are going to see how the plants perceive these stresses and how they cope under desiccation and salinity stress. The learning objectives of this module are desiccation and salinity stress induce damage, morphological and life cycle adaptations to desiccation and salinity stress, physiological adaptations to desiccation and salinity stress, stress perception and signal transduction, transcriptional regulation of stress responses, epigenetic regulation of stress responses, and transgenic and marker assisted selection technologies for improved stress tolerance. Drought or desiccation stress is caused due to unavailability of water to plants. This stress occurs commonly in the semi-arid tropics like peninsular India, where it is further aggravated by the presence of high temperature and light intensity. Saline soils cover about 20% of the world's cultivated land, and nearly half of all irrigated lands are affected by salinity. If the rainwater does not drain off, the groundwater solubilizes the soil salts, leaving a crust of salt on soil when water evaporates. Both these stresses lead to a loss of productivity in field crops. We can see in the slide the plants undergoing desiccation and salinity stress. Now, different groups of plants adapt to stress differently. For example, xerophytic plants show several morphological features that help them reduce transpiration and conserve water under drought stress. These include a thick cuticle, sunken stomata, reduced leaf size, and photosynthesizing stems. Drought-tolerant non-xerophytic plants show long roots which enable them to extract water from lower soil strata. Leaf rolling and reduced leaf angle with respect to the stem prevent excess light exposure. Plants adapted to drought often show an earlier transition to its reproductive phase, by which they can escape drought conditions. Some plants also delay the transition of their reproductive phases. Talking about the halophytes or salt-loving plants that have developed various mechanisms to cope with the high salt concentrations at which they grow. Some members of the family Chenopodiaceae, example salt bushes, show modification of epidermal hairs to form salt bladders. They are made up of two cells, a stalk cell and a bladder cell. Stalk cells transport ions from mesophyll cells to bladder cells, where NaCl binds up to extremely high concentrations. Ultimately, bladder cells burst, discharging salt on the outer side of the leaf surfaces. The concentration of NaCl in bladder cells can be up to 5 times higher than those in the mesophyll cells. Some halophytes also show an increase in succulence of leaves on exposure to high salt concentrations. Thick or fleshy leaves contain large and highly vacuolated cells which can store more salt per unit leaf area and prevent its accumulation in the cytoplasm. An adaptation to salt stress by non-halophytes involves the mechanism in which roots filter the salt and do not allow salt concentration in the conducting system to be too high, as seen in some salt-tolerant genotypes of crop plants like rice. This is achieved by deposition of lipophic and aromatic substances called suberins in the endodermis layer along the endodermis walls, which prevent apoplastic transport to salt to the steles. This slide shows the fortification of endodermis as an adaptation to salt stress. Physiological damage caused by salt and drought stress. Growth arrest is an immediate response of plants to shortage of water due to both these stress factors, that is, drought and salinity. Drought brings about stomatal closure, which reduces carbon dioxide accumulation by leaves, and xylem cavitation or embolism, which reduces hydraulic conductance to the shoot. The ionic component of salt stress leads to a more negative osmotic potential in cells, causing water loss from cells. Salt stress also alters the potassium and calcium content within cells and inhibit the activities of these enzymes. Both stresses lead to photoinhibition of photosynthesis and generation of reactive oxygen species, that is ROS. Respiration rate is seen to either decrease or increase, while a decrease in respiration rate is attributed to lower regeneration of ADP. Increased respiratory rates arise due to uncoupling of respiration. Accumulation of reduced electron transport components contribute to the generation of ROS in mitochondria. The unquenched ROS reacts spontaneously with organic molecules and cause membrane lipid peroxidation, protein oxidation, and nucleic acid damage. This ultimately leads to death of the plants. In this slide, we will be talking about the different physiological mechanisms leading to tolerance of both salt and desiccation stress. For example, protection against photoinhibition, alternative photosynthetic pathways, alternative respiration pathways, synthesis of osmolytes and osmoprotectants, oxidant metabolism, and abscisic acid accumulation. Let's talk about the protection against photoinhibition. Photoinhibition is prevented by inactivation of DI proteins, which serves as a fuse and protects the rest of the electron transport machinery from damage. Photorespiration effectively dissipates excess excitation energy from chloroplast and prevent generation of reactive oxygen species. The antioxidant systems in chloroplasts quench the reactive oxygen species. Non-photochemical quenching functions in the dissipation of excess photon energy in the form of heat, while detachment of the light harvesting antennae from PS2 prevents excess light energy from reaching the electron transport components. We will be talking more about these in detail in the photoinhibition module. A shift of photosynthesis metabolism from C3 to CAM or C4 plants offers higher water use efficiency by allowing photosynthetic carbon dioxide fixation at low water levels, while C4 plants have a mechanism of concentrating carbon dioxide by formation of oxaloacetate from phosphophenol pyruvate. CAM plants store the carbon dioxide in the form of malate. Both oxaloacetate and malate provide carbon dioxide to rubisco, thus maintaining photosynthetic carbon gain when stomata close due to desiccation stress. Drought and salinity stress cause the mitochondrial membranes to become rigid, which affects the movement of ubiquinone in the membrane, and hence electron transport is disrupted. Plant mitochondria show the presence of an alternative oxidase which accepts the electrons from ubiquinone and transfers them to oxygen to form water. This protects the cytochrome components of the mitochondrial electron transport system from over-reduction. Thus, the alternative oxidase pathway decreases the ATP yield of the electron transport system. It serves as a fuse to dissipate electrons and hence prevents the generation of reactive oxygen species. In addition, plant mitochondria have alternative NADPH dehydrogenases which oxidize NADPH that is produced in excess by chloroplast and transfer electrons to ubiquinone but do not generate a photon gradient to enable ATP generation. This prevents reactive oxygen species generation. While mechanisms to prevent the generation of reactive oxygen species have been mentioned so far, an important adaptive mechanism consists of their effective scavenging if and when these harmful species do rise. Antioxidant substrates like ascorbate, alpha tocopherol, and carotenoids, and antioxidant enzymes like superoxide dismutase, catalase, ascorbate peroxidase, and glutathione reductase exist in cell organelles and the cytoplasm and play an important role in detoxifying these reactive species. Transport processes at the plasma membrane and tonoplast regulate the sodium content in the cytoplasm. Sodium enters the cell via non-specific potassium transporters indicated by the blue rectangle. This sodium is removed from the cytoplasm by specific sodium hydrogen antiporters situated in the plasma membrane or vacuolar membrane as shown by the red squares. The antiporters transfer sodium passively but are energized by a photon gradient created across the membrane by the proton pumping activity of hydrogen ATPase or PPSs, as shown by the green rectangles. Besides the sequestration of sodium ions, transporters involved in maintaining low levels of calcium in the cytoplasm play an important role in salt tolerance. Calcium levels increase in response to salt stress due to the activation of plasma membrane or vacuole located calcium transporters as shown by the black ovals and is sequestered into the vacuoles. Water loss under desiccation or salt stress is prevented by the synthesis and accumulation of low molecular weight compounds that increase the osmotic concentration within cells. Inorganic cations, organic acids, carbohydrates, and free amino acids are known to accumulate in response to desiccation stress and are called osmolytes, since they help in maintaining cell turgor. Some solutes like glycine, betaine, and polyols, which are not metabolized by cells and which do not affect cell functions, are called compactile solutes. They play an important role in turgor maintenance, stabilizing protein structure and function, and preventing oxidative damage to membranes. Such compounds are called osmoprotectants. In halophytes, sodium ions are used for osmotic adjustments. Cellular accumulation of sodium ions helps in maintaining a favorable osmotic potential to drive water into the cells. The hormone abscisic acid plays an important role in assimilation of plants to stress. On exposure to water deficits, an increase in endogenous levels of ABA has been observed, which is brought about by regulation of the biosynthesis and breakdown pathways of ABA. ABA brings about stomatal closure and inhibits plants' growth. It is also known to regulate aquaporin activity and thereby water status in tissues. ABA also leads to the expression of the late embryogenesis abundant, that is Lea proteins, which show chaperone-like activity in protecting proteins against desiccation-induced damage. Indirectly, ABA inhibits ethylene biosynthesis and protects plants from ethylene-induced senescence. Now we will see how desiccation and salinity signaling takes place in the molecular level to give rise to plant responses to the stresses. Cell membrane receptors perceive various facets of desiccation stress like osmotic pressure, membrane rigidity, metabolic status, and calcium level increase. Histidine kinase is a receptor that is activated by changes in osmotic potential across the membranes. Besides this, G proteins, coupled receptors, and receptor-like kinases also sense desiccation stress, though the ligand binding to these receptors is not known. Ion channels activated by changes in the membrane potential are also activated in response to desiccation or salinity and lead to an increase in cytoplasmic calcium concentration. Beside membrane receptors, intracellular receptors that bind to the ABA or hexose also serve as desiccation stress sensors. Major types of signaling for plants during drought and salinity stress. The sensor transduces the desiccation or salinity stress signal to the nucleus via two major pathways. The first pathway is the phosphoprotein pathway involving protein kinases like MAP kinases or calcium dependent kinases, which lead to regulation of genes related to antioxidant metabolism, osmolyte biosynthesis, chaperones like Lia proteins, and ion transporters. In the phospholipid signaling pathway, phospholipases cleave phospholipids to release secondary messengers. Phospholipase C cleaves the phospholipid before the phosphate, releasing diacylglycerol and inositol triphosphate. IP3 activates a calcium channel, leading to an increase in cytoplasmic calcium levels. Phospholipase D cleaves after the phosphate, releasing a fatty alcohol and phosphatidic acid. Phosphatidic acid serves as a signal for activation of other signaling pathways like reactive oxygen species signaling and phosphoprotein signaling. A signaling pathway involved in salt signaling is the SOS pathway. Though the salt sensors has not been identified, it leads to an increase in cytoplasmic calcium levels. A calcium sensor salt, overly sensitive 3 or SOS3, perceives the high calcium levels and activates an effector kinase SOS2. The SOS3 and SOS2 protein kinase complex then phosphorylates and activates SOS1, a sodium hydrogen antiporter situated in the plasma membrane. SOS1 transports sodium ions out of the cell. The SOS2 kinase is also known to phosphorylate transcription factors and bring about regulation of the gene expression. SOS4 is a pyridoxal phosphate that is a ligand for SOS1. The SOS pathway leads to calcium homeostasis and an efflux of sodium ions. The various signaling pathways mentioned finally lead to an activation of transcription factors that bind to specific sites in the promoters of genes and regulate their expression. Several families of transcription factors play a role in regulating the expression of desiccation and salt stress responsive genes. Transcription factors belonging to the basic leucine zipper or BZIP family are activated through the ABA signaling pathway and are called ABA responsive factors or ABFs. They bind to the cis element called ABA responsive element present in the promoters of ABA response genes and lead to their expression. Some desiccation or salinity responsive genes are expressed in an ABA independent manner mediated by dehydration responsive element binding proteins, that is the DREBs, that belong to the AP2 family of transcription factors. The DREBs bind to the drought responsive elements, that is the DREs. In addition, MYC, beta helix loop helix, MYB, NAC type of transcription factors are also involved in regulating the expression of genes that play a role in desiccation or salt stress response. A single gene may have several types of cis elements in the promoter, and transcription factors may act combinationally in regulating its expression. Stress-related gene expression is also regulated at the epigenetic level. Desiccation stress induced changes in histone variants, histone end tail modifications, and DNA methylation have been shown to regulate stress-responsive gene expression. Modification in histones H3 and H4 like histone H3-H4 trimethylation, H3K9 acetylation, H3 SIR10 phosphorylation, H3-phosphoacetylation, and H4-acetylation are known to take place in response to desiccation or salt stress, thereby regulating the expression of stress-induced genes epigenetically. Talking about the microRNA regulated gene expression, microRNAs are non-coding RNAs that are transcribed and processed to form 20 to 22 nucleotide long silencing RNAs. The silencing RNAs are located on the RISC complex and specifically base pair to target messenger RNAs to induce cleavage and to target messenger RNAs or repress their translation. They constitute a gene silencing mechanism and is seen to play an important role in regulation of desiccation responsive genes. Here in this slide, we will see the transgenic approaches that have been shown to develop plants tolerant to desiccation and salinity stress. Candidate genes used for plant transformation include genes that are expressed like delta-1 pyrroline 5-carboxylate synthase or trehalose 6-phosphate synthase, or genes coding for stress-induced transcription factors like DREBs or ABA responsive factors that can simultaneously regulate expression of various stress phenotype genes. Transgenic salt tolerant plants have been obtained by transforming plants with the sodium hydrogen antiporters like SOS1 or NHX. However, none of these transgenics have been commercialized as of date. To summarize, adaptation to desiccation and salinity stress is seen to involve morphological and physiological alterations that prevent injury to plants. These include protective mechanisms to prevent photoinhibition, ROS generation, and loss of turgor. Underlying these alternations are molecular mechanisms that regulate the expression of genes involved in various adaptive processes. Our understandings of how the plants cope with these stresses is important at all levels for developing crops, as they can be grown, maintained, and can yield much better under stress conditions. Thank you.